Yeah, now we switch to our next topic just on time. And we have a very interesting panel here on stage. I already introduced it, but now we will delve into the real topics. And I'm very happy to have Niels König with me. Niels König from Fraunhofer IPT. Niels, come to me on stage. Your panel is still being wired behind. Niels, you brought some very good experts with you, ladies and gentlemen, and you want to dive into the topic Industrial 5G in practice. What is the readiness in Industrial 5G? So, do you think, personal view, as a cliffhanger to your panel, is the readiness, where are we, 100%, 50%, or do we want to prepare for tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So the answer is it depends. Yeah, it depends on the vertical, on the country, spectrum situation. So there's so much influencing factors that influence the maturity of each country's or each industry's ecosystem. And we will see today what is the state of the different players, who is having which stake in the ecosystem, and how to make a factory 5G ready, or even how to make a country 5G ready. So that's also something which we learned today, yeah.
And your stage is built by different experts from different areas and different sectors. And so we are very happy to have you and your colleagues here. And now I want to beg you to introduce your panel to us, and the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so welcome. Thank you very much for coming to this panel discussion. It's about Industrial 5G in practice, and actually we will look a little bit on the maturity of the ecosystem. So, as we know, Industrial 5G is around for a couple of years already and market ready. But as we know, the market adoption is still a little bit lagging behind, so it's quite slow, and we may question if it's related to the technical maturity of the overall ecosystem, or if always just a return on invest topic, right? And so I'm happy to share the insights of our experts, or they will share their insights, of course. And we will a little bit touch upon the practicalities of 5G. So I'm happy to have on stage, I call on stage my panelists. So I ask Christina Fischer from Schaeffler. So please warm applause for all the panelists. So then we have Bauer from Belden. Please take a seat here. Yep. Bauer from Belden. We have Olive Murphy from Analog Devices, and Philippe Herbert from all the way from France. So please take a seat. So thank you very much for coming. And so the concept for today is like yesterday, as there was the first 5G ACAA panel discussion moderated by Afif Osseran. So it's now it's my turn, and I'd like to ask you to please introduce yourself, and also what is your role in the 5G ecosystem? So what is your relation to 5G? So please, Christina, will you come on stage? So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm from the Schaeffler company, and I'm here responsible for the program Smart Factory with 5G. Now already over 3 years, we take care about this topic. Overall, we take care at Schaeffler in 3 strategic fields, especially in the production environment, about innovation, sustainability, and digitalization. And here we have a perfectly fit between innovation and digitalization at the 5G topic, especially for our needs for our future production. Here we try to bring up innovation to business. Here I want to show you from our perspective our needs in the production in the future. We have different topics that we bring up already into our production, but we can see here already our limits in our wireless communication infrastructure. Therefore, we think about different solutions in this ecosystem, and one solution for us is here right now, the industrial 5G network. Beside of that, we have to figure out what Niels already mentioned for our different regions worldwide, where we have what kind of readiness level and what kind of devices are already established and available that we can implement it in our serial production. In the end, we want to bring up and build a real autonomous production that we bring into our serial production. And here we see the limit in our already established wireless network that we need new solutions.
Okay, thank you very much, Christina. Thanks. Please, a warm applause for Christina. And so now I'd like to call Christian Bauer from Belden, or from Hirschmann, a Belden company, to be accurate. You're a senior technology architect in the CTO office, and also a 5G ACIA member, very active 5G ACIA member, just to mention that. So you're looking at 5G from a different perspective. What is it about?
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. So as mentioned, I'm with Belden. I'm working there in the CTO office and taking care of strategic point of view on 5G and wireless communication for the industry. Belden as a company in a nutshell, we are a US company with around about 7,700 associates. We are providing connectivity solutions for the industry, no matter if it's for process industry, if it's for mining, if it's for building connectivity, if it's for manufacturing, and so on. We have many different brands which are working together to bring to our customers best possible solutions on that issue. And here you see our portfolio range. So we do passive components like cables, connectors, and so on, but also active components like routers, switches. And it doesn't stop with cables. We are looking further also into wireless connectivity. That's why Belden is also a founding member of 5G ACIA, which means we already started to look into industrial 5G back in 2017. And from that on, we were evolving with 5G, with industrial 5G, and shaping 5G to the needs of our customers. For example, that results in one of our products, for example, the NB1800. It's an industrial 5G router. You can see it on the demo wall of the 5G ACIA. And that is capable not only in doing Ethernet, Wi-Fi, 4G LTE, but also 5G. And by that, we have the future-proofing of our products for our customers that they can already benefit with Release 15, enhanced mobile broadband communication, for example, to use a broader data transmission compared to previous installations. But also we look even further in regards of, for example, time synchronization via TSN, which is very relevant if you look into industrial players in general, for example, for applications like condition monitoring, predictive maintenance, and so on. So we did some different research on that, comparing, for example, in case one, you see non-standalone public networks compared to a private 5G. We had installed in our facilities, as well as with our partners using ZIP9, and comparing that also to Wi-Fi, because we want to provide our customers with the best solutions possible, no matter which it is. And there we could showcase that with private 5G, ZIP9, or a workaround, which was using GPS, for example, we got down to nanoseconds in regards of time synchronization. And by that, we can provide the thought leadership for our products, for our customers, and for the company, and shape the future for industrial 5G even further together with the partners in 5G ACIA. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Christian. Very interesting, and yeah, nice to see the progress of the ecosystem towards new features. TSN support, very good. So Olive, so we have Olive from Analog Devices. So of course you're famous for, let's say, electronic system provider of electronic system solutions. So what is your stake in 5G?
What's our stake in 5G? So perhaps some people here aren't aware of Analog Devices. We're a $12 billion semiconductor company. Half of our revenue comes from industrial markets. So a lot of the companies that you are talking here today, who are your vendors, they are our customers. So if you are to break open their solutions, you will most likely find a lot of our technology inside in it. If we look a little bit at what we specifically do within industrial automation, it covers all of the pertinent use cases. And I think the message I would like you to take home today is that ADI, from a technology point of view, is a one-stop shop in terms of connectivity for industrial applications. We cover the full gamut from process automation, factory automation, motion control, robotics, and even the building that this sits within. If I talk a little bit more specifically about some of this technology and how we use it to align with the sustainability goals of our customers, we are developing a lot more intelligent edge automation where we can have substantial savings over what will be the case if all of the data is pulled back to your cloud, for example. A big focus for our customers is that they are currently transitioning from very traditional RS-485 and analog field buses to full digitization. And this is in a wired capability. Right, we're going on the journey with our customers here with 10-based T1L technology and time-sensitive networking, Ethernet for deterministic, real-time, highly synchronized control and data analytics. In motion control, we're often doing sustainability under the guise of more efficient motor control. We know that motors are a big culprit. And likewise, in flexible manufacturing robotics, a lot of this is around our software configurable IOs and our interfacing and isolation towards that. So when we talk with our customers, they're very familiar with us from a wired connectivity point of view, from the OT domain, but what customers don't realize is that we also have a lot of technology in the IT domain. We would often say that it is highly unlikely that you make any cellular call in the world without it going through an ADI product. And this is, again, where we have a position in terms of industrial 5G. We have a very long history in software-defined radios, and we're really bridging the gap between our more traditional business in the IT domain to bring it very firmly into the OT domain. And where do we see all of this actually going? We like to consider, and this might be a little bit controversial, that wired technology is not going to go anywhere. It will still be the mainstream within factories. However, wireless will have a very, very strong role, especially when we start to overcome the psychological barriers of removing that element of redundancy and that element of reliability. And that will be achieved when we can see, like with Belden, the capabilities of TSN over 5G, for example. So by doing this, we will have a very much of a hybrid approach to factory automation. It will be a very dynamic wired and wireless capability that will eventually be fully software defined and fully software controlled.
Okay, thank you very much, Olive. So please a warm applause. Yeah, your statement about the cable, we see how much we will challenge this statement.
How long the
today.
cable?
Okay, so now we have from France, all the way from France, Philippe Herbert. So Philippe, you're actually being fundamental in establishing a 5G program in France.
I'm pushing.
For the Ministry of Economic Affairs.
Yes.
So that was your obligation or your, let's say, your prestige and your honor to lead a group, the Mission 5G. So can you let us know what it's about? What did you actually do?
Yes, thank you very much, Niels. First of all, you heard good things from user and good things from provider of solution. Now it's a little bit different. I will tell you a little how we try to accelerate, how to try to get the industry, and not only the industry, interested about 5G in France. So it gives you maybe a few ideas or compliment on what you have done and what you see in Germany, or at least my goal is to fill the gap with you guys. So the first thing is in 2021 and 2022, and that's a few years after it started in Germany, we have decided to accelerate the deployment of the 5G ecosystem in France. And it was in fact a way to analyze what were the pitfalls and the problems that we had to solve in order to start and accelerate. And by the way, we came here and meet with Niels in 2022, and one of the 7 recommendations that we made to the French government, the first one being on the frequencies, to have frequencies similar to what you have in Germany, but was to have yes, sorry. It was important for us to have a place like the Fraunhofer Institute, for example, and that's what we have built since that time. We have already 2 up and running, and we have 2 more coming. And that's part of the first stage of the mission that I led. In fact, after this recommendation and the action plan, our ministers asked me to help to implement this recommendation. Usually that's what you do when you are in the consulting business. People ask you, okay, now that you have recommended, you do it. And that's what happened. And in fact, I'm working with 27 5G experimentation platform, and I think that we will discuss and we'll talk about it. Is it better? Well, we'll talk about it after in terms of what are the outcome. And the second thing was to work with the industrial company, that making them work together and share experiences and best practices. And the last one was definitely to try to implement as much as possible these new technologies in the industry of the future in France. Where we are, and again, that's part of the discussion I'm sure that Niels will ask us to have. The outcome of that is a panorama of the different projects that we have implemented. That's to say, for anybody in France to be able to find a place or to find a topic which has already been worked out through these 27 projects. And we have also a catalog of use case, the use case being a magic world in the deployment of 5G, industrial 5G. You need to have use case. So we are starting with 30 to 40 use case, and the goal by the end of this year is to have over 100 use case in different categories, not only industrial, because 5G is also interesting in healthcare or in local authority or agriculture. And in order to be very close to the field, we are organizing 6 regional events. And in France, it's a little bit unusual because usually you do everything in Paris. This time we do that in different regions as you do that in Germany, in order to bring closely to the end user the experience, the use case, and to be able to exchange with the people who have done it. So this is the mission. What will be obviously interesting is to get specific example of industry, or not only industry, the result they have got. Thank you.
Keep the microphone. Keep your microphone. Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Philippe, and thank you all for introducing yourself and also your activities in 5G already. So now I'm looking really very much forward to discuss with you about your insights. So Christina, you just explained your, let's say, 9 activity areas. So is there one use case that you have implemented where you say, okay, here the maturity of 5G and the benefit is really tangible?
Yes, we see especially in the area of our high flexible and adaptive autonomous production, the benefit of our new wireless communication technology like 5G. Here, especially when we implement mobile robots to set up machines, here we need a really high reliable communication between our different machines. And the machines in this case are not anymore fixed, they are real mobile, and we need a really high process stability that we can increase our processes. And within this case of a real mobile production, you have more and more the requirements also to have safety systems that you can also use in a mobile world. And here you need also this kind of high reliability. And right now, from the reliability perspective, combined with low latency, you have another level of safety, and that you can use so far to increase your worker safety as well.
Okay, understand. So the requirement for wireless is clear. You are dealing with mobile robots for assembly of machines, so automating all the assembly tasks. So that means you are building a lot of machines. So why does it have to be 5G? It's just because of reliability and low latency, or is there any other requirements in terms of private spectrum?
Of course, you have also the benefit of a private spectrum, that you have another level of security. But overall, the focus are definitely the high reliability and in combined with low latency. And what we see as well, compared to our Wi-Fi system that we have right now established, we have the first time the possibility from operations IT side that we can orchestrate our data by ourselves. Therefore, we can define for our machine communication, wireless machine communication, the prioritization, and so far we have our own influence into the system.
Okay. And what is the integration level? So how can I understand it? So are you going down with 5G down to the field bus communication level?
Yes, as well.
Okay, so then we talk about things like Profinet over 5G?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Sure. Yeah. And what is your practical experience? So does it integrate seamlessly, or is it painful?
From the integration, it's depend on the end devices. Therefore, it's depend on a classical sentence. But overall, it's worked pretty well. Our biggest pain point here is more or less the cost of the end devices and the availability, of course.
Okay, so that means in the end, if you really roll out your solution for the autonomous or automated mobile assembly, then you rely on a higher number of devices, and then perhaps, I mean, stressing the network. That's also something where there's not so much kind of experience where you have, let's say, 100 devices at the same time in one network. So I haven't seen any trials and results so far. As you mentioned, it's quite expensive to buy all these kind of devices. So that's, but do we expect that the prices come down? So what is your expectation?
I think it has to be come down, but but I think you have to downscale probably also the possibilities of the end devices. Right now you have really powerful end devices, and of course for some use cases you need it. But if you have to connect all machines in your production, especially in your brownfield production, then you probably don't need all these kind of features of the end devices. And therefore, if you have really easy connectable devices, it has to be.
Yeah. Okay.
That's.
Okay, so thank you very much. So I learned mobile assembly safety is of course very, very much important. Fieldbus communication over 5G, so perfect. So Christian, so you are providing solutions first of all, and of course with respect to 5G, you're providing devices, and we have seen even going down to TSN over 5G. Perfect. But you are also operating your own network, is it right? So why are you operating your own network if you just actually want to sell your device to the customers who have their own network, right?
Yeah, of course. It's very important to understand the technology, and as just mentioned, it's brownfield. No customer approaches us to build a network directly from scratch. Of course, that happens as well. But usually, if you look into industrial manufacturing, before joining Belden, I was 10 years with a machine tool builder here in Germany. So I've got very good experience regarding machine tools, shop floor, and so on. So usually, you do not have a greenfield. You have a brownfield with legacy infrastructure, fixed wires communication. You have Wi-Fi, for example. You have other things. So for us as a company, it's pretty important to understand each technology by heart, to understand how they coexist, how they interact, how they could interoperate together. And by that, it's of course important to have a 5G network as well in place to get to know the specifics and to then be able to provide each customer the best tailored solution.
Mm-hmm. So does it mean you're testing and benchmarking your own devices with the network that you have, or is it also that you do customer trials where you sell, let's say, the more complex systems with multiple devices, or how are you using your network?
So, for example, as I mentioned before, the NB1800, where we did the TSN time synchronization testing, that was, for example, done on our site in Neckartenzlingen near Stuttgart. So there we have a customer innovation center. We have several of them worldwide, where we can prove the competence, the capabilities of our devices, as well as how they interact with each other, how an end-to-end solution might look like, and so on. So therefore, of course, we do not just do customer thinking there, but also thinking ahead in regards of thought leadership on new applications, new functionalities, such, for example, TSN, which might be a part, or time synchronization might be a part once Release 17 is realized in products.
Yep.
So by that, we could have a heads up on that regards as well.
Okay. And so now Christina mentioned that the integration of end devices is one of the more challenging tasks, right? So what can you do as a provider of devices to ease the integration pains that the end users actually have?
I think there are two things key to that. First is to have a mutual understanding. What are the needs? What are the challenges? No matter, not speaking only about integrating end devices, but also thinking about 5G ACIA in the higher level, but also down to earth on the shop floor. So the understanding of the needs is very important, and on a non-technical level, but also understanding the technologies by heart, as mentioned before. Of course, it's very relevant since each customer, as mentioned, has very unique network architecture and communication architecture. So that's very important, and having also in mind that this legacy architecture has, especially if you look into process industry, several years of age. Therefore, you have growing or evolving network architectures usually, and it always, as you mentioned before, it depends on the situation at customer sides, it depends on the UEs, depends on the the vendors. And therefore, there are many different parameters that have to be taken into account.
Yeah. So I have one question to you regarding the actual 5G network. So I understand you are not doing this kind of network, you provide a device. So the network you acquired from a vendor. So what is your experience about the maturity of that network solution? Is it stable? Is it easy to configure? So what is your impression about the maturity of the overall 5G network offerings on the market?
I think there are many different offerings in the market, and we do not stick to one vendor. We of course have different partnerings and so on. And as you mentioned before, it depends on your needs, especially if you're a company that's interested in integrating 5G into your campus network, or if you're thinking about having a campus network and so on. The thing is that nobody can do everything by him own or by herself. So you need partnering. And in 5G ACA, or regarding 5G topic in general, we are talking about the industry. And of course, industry had some common KPIs like return on invest, like total cost of ownership, and so on. But if you look into industry in more detail, you have SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprises. Those have other challenges to tackle, like how do I operate a network like this? How do I manage this? Compared to large corporations like automotive companies, they are more looking into how do I scale such a system? How does it integrate such a system? How many SIM cards I need to do, and how does it scale up for my huge facilities? So I think that's a more important point we need to tackle before going into more detail.
Yeah. But regarding the Belden requirements towards the network for your setup, would you say it worked perfectly, or it took ages to get a network up and running and stable?
It was an evolution process because, as I mentioned, we started in 2017 looking into the topics in 5G ACA. Yes. Of course, nowadays it's much easier to do so than a couple of years ago, but I think that's a progress. And
okay.
Key for that is to integrate the learnings into the process and not just stick to it as it was in the beginning.
Yeah. Christina, so I learned you started with setting up a network, I think around 2 years ago. So what were your first experience? What's your experience now? So would you say there's also an evolution within the 2 years that you became active with Industrial 5G? Just looking at the network, not devices. We learned, okay, it's some hassle, but just the network.
Yeah, sure. From network infrastructure, we learned that the technical readiness level, it's really improved in the last years. And I would say right now you have a production-ready network available. And because the hardware won't be changed so quick in the next evolution stages from infrastructure perspective. And so far, every else what you get in the future of new properties, new features or something like that, you can get up directly with software updates. And so far, you don't have to change anything in your production. And that was one of the most important things for us, that we can say we have a really industry readiness infrastructure.
Yeah, very good. So industry readiness, Olive, so that's something you like to hear, I guess. So so as a provider of 5G solutions and also more on the component side, so how does do the requirements towards your products differ from the public network side to the private network side? So does it mean you have a complete new portfolio of components?
We don't. So we have, from a base station point of view, we have our ORAN solution. And we have that up and running in a private network in our own Catalyst, which is a test facility for collaboration with customers, and that's working seamlessly with some commercially available 5G routers. From a semiconductor point of view, we need to target as many markets as possible, and that's why we've taken more of a software-defined radio approach and the ORAN approach to this.
Okay, and so what is the feedback from your customer side? So do they say, okay, what you provide is nice, but it's not sufficient? So is there any demand for more or for higher performance in the components?
So I think everybody would agree that it's very much an ecosystem play for industrial 5G. There's a lot of components, not just from a physical semiconductor point of view, but from a software point of view. And I think what's really needed, and one of the barriers for adoption for industrial 5G, is that full end-to-end solution for our customers. So our experience, as I mentioned earlier, is for many, many years on the wired connectivity, very high precision control and analytics. And what we feel our customers want is a sense of longevity in the technology that's being deployed. We all understand that industrial automation does not evolve or change at the same rate as which we change our mobile phones from a consumer point of view. So with this in mind, you have to have a future-proofing element when it comes to industrial capabilities. And this means that you have to have upgradability in the field, and that helps define how we architect our solutions into the future. This could be different in some ways to perhaps how the consumer world works, because we're a throwaway kind of mentality when it comes to this. But this is certainly not the case, and I think you would agree, in the industrial environments.
Okay. So all of you just said you have a lab, a 5G lab. So is it a lab that you engage with customers and set up customer trials?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. We have a local license for operation to do that. It's been granted by the local government, and we're very keen for anybody to come and interface and do interoperability testing with us there.
Okay. So can you tell us which kind of customers are working with you in this lab?
If I told you, I would have to kill you, Niels. No, but obviously it's a hot topic with lots of our customers, As I mentioned earlier, lots of people are beginning to go on this digitization journey. They're upgrading from very siloed systems to get more of a holistic understanding of the data within factories from a wired perspective. And certainly in their periphery vision is a lot of interest in wireless connectivity, and it's well understood that wireless connectivity will definitely have a role. You mentioned configurability in factories. We're certainly hearing that as well. Obviously, you have the mobile capability. You have the advances around virtual control in the future and distributed control within factories, where routers will certainly play a part in that. I think, as I said, there's a psychological kind of hurdle everybody has to jump over when you're moving from wired to wireless capability, when you start to talk about reliability, right? And it's a different conversation. And I think what we really need to do is to show all of the vendors here it working in reality, right? So at the end of the day, we're all engineers. We all like to see numbers. We all like to see proof. And I think once we start to see more evidence around TSN capabilities, then there will be a much better appetite for adoption within our customer base.
So how long are you operating this lab now?
How long are we operating the lab? So it's called the ADI Catalyst Centre. It's been running for about 3 years in our EMEA headquarters in Limerick in Ireland. It's a 100,000 square feet facility across all of our markets and all of our technology groups. Okay,
very good. So when you compare 3 years ago, the engineering efforts that you need to invest in a customer trial, if you compare to now, so would you say the efforts are still the same, because the feature requests are increasing, so the challenge is, let's say, higher, and the technical requirements are higher, so that the engineering efforts still the same? Or would you say, okay, we got used to it, and now it's running smooth? Or
I think everybody will agree with the lag that exists between what's been kind of ratified by 3GPP and what we start to see in the components. We hear it again and again from the UE and radio capabilities side of things that we're just not there yet. So the biggest challenge is setting expectations, because I think the perception is that if it's been ratified by 3GPP, that it can be deployed within 6 months or a year at most, when we actually understand it's a lot longer than that.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, Olive, for sharing your insights. So, so Philippe, so actually, one could say you incubated the 5G ecosystem in France, isn't it? So, so you're starting a few years ago, 2021, with the Mission 5G. So how did you start it? Did the Ministry of Economic Affairs call you up and say, okay, please do something about it, or?
Yes, more or less this was how it happened. But I think more important is they had already a vision that whatever we talk about today locally at one point of time, that on long-term vision, this will be the solution of the future. And that's very important. And I would like to take a parallel to, for example, this device. When it arrived, everybody was looking, okay, maybe it will be this. Now nobody is asking the question. And what I heard this morning is exactly what I hear in France. But for me, the most important message, it's very important to start as much as possible, as soon as possible, because in any case, the way is very clear. On medium, long term, this is the solution of the future, because we need this network for artificial intelligence. We need this network for connectivity. We need this network for cybersecurity. But you see, when you start in 2021, it was like preaching in the desert. Now, it's not anymore. I will say people are touching, and also even more important, we have a couple of industrial company who have 2 years of track record in production. Mm-hmm. And then it starts to be, as you mentioned, KPIs, return on investment, okay, difficulties which are solved, or difficulties which are now easier to implement. And that's very important in my role, to share and explain and get as much the information to everybody, so that they don't consider the gap or the entry gap is too high, too far for them to start. The best message for me is it's very important to start today. Even here in Germany, because the question is not how and when, but really starting. Obviously, there are constraints in order to go faster or a little bit more with cautious, but it's very important to start.
Yeah. So I'd like to. So that's very interesting for me. So, so the Mission 5G, how was it composed? So which players did you gather in the group?
This is a difference between Germany and France. In France, 5G frequencies were preempted by the operators, telecom operators. And then the industrial environment, and even broader than that, the agricultural and the others thought, okay, it's not for us, which is the opposite, I will say. And obviously, we had to turn that upside down to ask the operator to talk about use case, to talk about industry language, to needs, requirements in the field, and to stop talking the telecom language. For example, I never want to use latency. I work real time. I don't want to talk about the characteristic of the waves and how good they are in milliseconds. So, no, it's what do you do with that? And it's very important in the 6 industrial company who have implemented. When you go and visit them, maybe they have 1 or 2 slides about 5G, but the rest, they are talking only about application. They are talking about what they do with that. They do decarbonation, they do artificial intelligence, they increase the capacity of production. They solve problems that they didn't solve before. And the very important message is also to build a machine of use case. Let's say, bringing to the operators, okay, what are your problems on the day-to-day, and build from that. And that's what we have seen, and we are trying to share with along all the industrial companies, is how to build this use case, how to make the operators feel that there is something for them. And by the way, everybody, as I said, is using this magic world of I need my use case, but 6 months after you started, it's not anymore a question. Usually they start with between 2 to 5 use case. 6 months after, there are 10, 20, and the question of use case is not anymore.
Yeah, it's really impressive. So how fast you actually established it and so get it going. So you were talking about the machine of use cases. How do you fuel it?
First of all, we have developed, as I said, 2 things. A little bit of process in order to make the operators providing this kind of problems or elements which are relatively interesting in the 5G. And even more important, a qualification tool.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not only a single ID which will be that, it's an ID which has a value for the company. Because as you mentioned, it could be quite costly, but if in front you have things that you never were able to solve, for example, Alcatel Submarine Network, which is doing cable overseas, they had problems they could never solve. And it was a huge problem in production. Solving only this problem as a first use case will save them more than 2 million euros. Obviously, after that, it's easier to say, okay, the investment case is easier. But it's not always that strong, but it's very important to have this use case machine inside a company.
Yeah, but what I meant, so was there any funding support from the governmental side to fuel up the machine?
You know very much the French environment. Yes, we had this. We had this in 2021, 2022. And what is amazing is this 27 experimentation, 5G experimentation platform. But what I have to say is the guys who didn't think a little bit forward and were not participating to this project of the 5G experimentation platform. Now they say, hey, I want to be, and it's too late, I will say. We are in a phase where it's not anymore an infusion of subventions. So yeah. I know that there are projects at the European scale, European level for helping financing. There is also project call, but it's not anymore a question of putting a lot of million in the machine, because we have demonstrated that the result is already so interesting that, okay, there will be some help, but not as much as what you have done. Yep. In the first step, it was 100 million euro which were put on this 20, at that time, 21 project. Okay, yep. 100 million, 21 projects. You see, it was a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, so in Germany, it was the same situation. So there was also funding support in the initial phase to kickstart the ecosystem, and with respect to spectrum, so I think in Germany there was 3 or 4 years of lobbying work, and you did it in half of the time. So don't have to be shy.
Yes, but I used you. You remember I visited you and I came to the president of the Bundesnetzagentur in France, and I said, we cannot continue like that. We will be a loser if we continue like that. Okay. Thanks to what you have done in Germany.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. You were mentioning one of the use cases of the project. So I understand you heavily involve the industrial companies, so to get them adopt
yes.
the technology and get it used. So can you share one good result where you technically needed 5G and 5G really helped the company?
I think it's important to see 5G, industrial 5G, private network, not only as a mean or a way to do, it's also a very important leverage, a leverage of accelerating the Industry 4.0 or accelerating Industry 5.0. Very important. If I take the example of Alcatel Submarine Network again, because 2 years history, they had a problem. They are facing a problem. They had double the customer increase in volume than they could produce. So they had to react and to change the gear inside. And 2 years after, one of the results is with the same perimeter in terms of machine, everything, they have an increase of 15% of capacity. So you see, this is very important for an industrial company. And the second element that I would like to share with you is, it's not mine, it's there. They invested around 5 million everything, okay, hardware, software, service, for a 1.2 billion euro company. It's not that much, but okay. But the idea was to do that with a return on investment during 3 years. And 2 years after, they admit that the return on investment will be between 1 and 2 years. So for again, for an industrial company, increase the capacity of 15% on a yearly basis and have a return on investment between 1 and 2 years, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, of course, it's a no-brainer then.
But you know that after, that's the problem, Niels. When they started, they have said 3 years, and now they are able to demonstrate. And why? Because they started with 2 or 3 use cases, very critical use case, okay? But now there are 20 use cases implemented after 2 years, and they have another 10 coming. So now the network is there. There is no additional investment cost, and this is only to connect this application, and that's where the use case machine by the operators or through the operators asking is very important, because they are coming with, oh, now that I have access to this or this or this, I can do maintenance, I can do learning, I can work differently, I can solve this problem that I couldn't solve.
So is Alcatel using 5G in the daily production now?
Yes.
That's a very good proof for maturity.
Yes. But yes, unfortunately, I have one company like that. The second one, which has about a year of experience, is Herbert in Toulouse. Very impressive also. A third one is ArcelorMittal. You know the big steel, but very important. They are saying we will decrease by 50% the decarbonation of the, and we cannot do that without 5G. That's an example also, which is very interesting to to relate, because we are talking a lot of features and so, but the big picture is broader than only the latency and things like that.
Okay, so very interesting insights. So I'm questioning, are there any questions from the audience? So, may I take the... So, they removed the microphone. Yes. Okay, so please tell us your name and your company, and then the question, please.
Yeah, my name is Georgios Ivalis, working for Lufthansa Technik. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly, I'm working for Lufthansa Technik. And obviously, we also have started 3 years ago our digital transformation as a company. And of course, we are facing also a lot of difficulties. Two out of the many have been mentioned already here. Are the one thing is when we are talking about 5G infrastructure and sensors and mobile devices and so on machines, there are of course the battery issues, the energy issues for those devices. Of course, the other mentioned things from your side, Mrs. Fischer, with costs and so on, this comes on top. But from an operational perspective, it is, of course, something very difficult, very hard, because 5G infrastructure or endpoints in the 5G infrastructure consume so much energy. My question would be, were you able to resolve this in your discussions with your customers, and do you identified a way out of this? This would be the one question in this direction. And the second question I had is more addressed to Mr. Bauer. You were talking about the infrastructure. We have a legacy environment, and also the difficulties because it's very heterogeneous. And my question is, one of the major points when we are talking about 5G and thereafter the processing of data which is being gathered, you need to think also about data models, how this data which has been collected from different information points. And my question would be, how were you dealing in your experience and the projects you were facing? How were you dealing with these data models? Because that's the very beginning of the whole chain on how we are going to process about the use cases in the different use cases, the data. Yeah.
So that was a long question, or long two questions. Two questions.
Shall I?
So the first one was addressed to
Energy. A little bit for you.
This is Fischer, and it was related to the energy consumption of sensors.
Energy consumption of
Yes.
sensors.
Okay.
That I understand.
We right now we used kind of wireless 5G sensors in our production machine, but of course that's a challenge. We have there one cable for power consumption. That's right. Yeah, we have no solution so far. But you can ask Niels. His team is really good in development for something like that.
Yes, I did. So the first devices, release 15 compliant devices, they consume a lot of energy. So independent of the data that you send or not send at all. So it's typically 3 watts that the module consumes. So and regarding to my last question, the wish list. RedCap is one of the topics where I think many of the industrial use cases may go with RedCap, and our first experience is that energy consumption is really lower because the bandwidth needed is of course less. So we do not use the whole 100 megahertz. We use less bandwidth, and that also reduces the energy consumption. So that's pretty much clear.
And as far as I understood, the second question was on data models, on the many different data that are generated. I think it's a question that would fill a different panel discussion. But generally speaking, data is more and more important. So when Industry 4.0 started 10, 12 years ago, the idea was to have the digitalization. Now with new applications, Gen AI, digital twin, edge computing, data is more and more important. Data models are as well, because you need to be able to bring data into context. I think data models are sort of independent of the data transmission, which is 5G for. But the more and more data is generated and the more and more data-consuming applications are implemented, as I mentioned just before, the more important is data transmission. And the winning point for 5G in that context will be as soon as legacy infrastructure comes to its limits, then 5G comes into play and provides the capabilities to do the next step, to reach the next level in data communication on a shop floor, in industry, and so on.
Okay, so thank you very much for your question. So if you're interested to see what is already tangible, so please go to the 5G ACIA booth. There's a demo wall, there's a sensor you can test live, and there's also a RedCap device that you can see and what is showcased there. So thank you. So I have one final speed Q&A round. So I'd ask you to complete the sentence. Industry 5G needs to improve.
Low cost and devices.
Very good. So Christian, what is your response?
Interoperability with legacy and coexistence.
Okay, yeah, very good.
Future-proofing and ease of use.
Yeah, Philippe.
Yes, after that it's very difficult to complete, but for me it's the transparency. For me, we should not talk anymore about 5G. In 3-5 years, we will talk about application only. So that's the ambiguity that we have today. We are talking a lot of improving this technology, but this is not the technology which is important.
Should we talk about 6G then? Okay.
You know,
So,
this is 5 plus 1G,
Yeah.
okay? It doesn't exist,
Exactly.
6G.
yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't exist.
Okay, so
May I ask, because I promised I would do that. There are two French companies that you can look at here in this booth. You have Obvious and you have Firecell.
yes.
So I said that because you know about the
Yes.
French flag. Sorry for that, but
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
to do that.
Thank you. Of course, also visible here in the 5G arena, and also part of the 5G ACIA demo wall with Firecell gear in place. So thank you very much to you all for attending this panel discussion. Thank you for listening, and please give all of them a warm applause. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.